this is the pets segment. So we commented earlier, there are our secret guests. Our secret guests might have to speak up to steal the camera. So I'm going to talk until our secret guests speak for themselves. But we had the idea that not only, you know, did we see Charlaine's dog walk behind earlier, but one of the coolest things about doing a virtual conversation is that you can meet people's pets. And we all have these little creatures who inhabit our world.
The alpacas will be here soon. Here we go.
So the secret pets are alpacas.
They're pretty cool.
All right. Well, I will start until the alpacas can make some sounds. I will start with my secret sidekick here. This is Sapo. Sapo is probably a dog. He is a rescue. I got him. You know, he's got these big old ears. Oh, he's sinking down.
How about here are the alpacas with echo. Alpacas, 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 all the.
They're pretty cute.
All right, so those have been our secret alpacas that were on our call. We've been calling them emotional support alpacas.
Fuzzy alpacas.
They're not going to talk.
No, they don't have too much to say. The alpacas belong to a friend of ours, Mike. Thank you so much for arranging the alpacas for us. They do not belong to any of our authors, though. I think a few of us have been eyeing some of them with covetous eyes. But I will finish the Sapo parable real quickly, which is why I say he's probably a dog, is because, you know, he's got these big ears. In some photos he looks more like a deer than a dog, and I got him DNA tested. They can tell you swab their little cheeks and they'll tell you what your animal is, and he came back 65% other. But he's a loving companion despite his questionable. We ask him often, who turned you into a dog? All right, now it looks like we've got some other pets ready to go. So as soon as you start talking, you get the view. So someone talk with who wants to go next? Maybe Dana.
I will. This is Kaylee. She is definitely a cat, possibly Puma. She is not eager to stick around, so I'm going to let her go.
Okay, bring a dog.
And her sister is Zoe, and they are named for the Firefly characters. I'm going to try to get Zoe to.
Okay. I've got Abigail.
Charlaine, I hear your dogs are rescues. Is that right?
They are. This is Abigail. We got her out of the pound, and we've had her about 5 years or so. And she's mostly corgi, sort of. And I will let her down. And this is Colt. He's our old guy. We've had him about 10 years.
Okay, everyone out.
So that's Abigail and Colt. They're both excellent dogs.
Okay, I've got Clara. This is Clara, the guinea pig.
Hey,
She's actually my
Clara.
daughter's guinea pig, but she lets me clean the cage, which is very generous of her. And sometimes I have to put mousse on her tail end. Sentences you don't often hear. Clara, she's not a potato. Who said that?
She's not a potato, she's an eggplant. Get it right.
She's an eggplant. She's definitely more eggplant shaped. That would be the actual mama of the pig, is Valerie, my daughter. Clara's 7 years old, and she's actually a rescue guinea pig. There's actually a lot of guinea pigs who need rescuing. Sometimes you get guinea pig hoarders and stuff, and they just fill up the various filters. But we got her when she was just a baby, and she just about turned 7. Say, hey, Clara. Yeah, she doesn't say much. She's kind of like a tribble with feet.
So cute. All right, Patty, I think we mentioned that you might have who's that behind you?
So my horses are a little hard to bring in the house. I do have a dog and 2 cats too. I saw somebody on the chat was asking about my daughter Savannah. My daughter has her own house now and moved out with a Savannah, and although I really miss the Savannah cat, my life is much simpler without him. But for your enjoyment, some of you may have noticed the sword over my shoulder right up here. This is my house horse. He's a carousel horse carved by my friend Ed Roth. If you want to look at his website, it's A&E Sculpting, and he's painted by Lisa Liepman. And I think he's the most beautiful carousel horse that I have ever seen. And I'm super stoked that I have him in my house. My husband was one of those people who really loved art and liked to support artists. And he could find people who could do very different things. And so he's responsible for finding this carousel horse. And since he carved it for us, Ed and his wife, Adriana, have become our very, very good friends. Really love them. They run the Santa Monica Pier Carousel. So if you ever go to Santa Monica or you watch a movie where there's a carousel, it's probably the carousel's on there. And Ed has done all the restoration work on that carousel, and occasionally there'll be extra animals on it at his car.
Oh, that's beautiful, Patty. I know your other horses are not as easy to show as this one, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about them. I know you have how many again?
I have a roughly 30 horses. I try not to think too much about it or it'll scare me. I raise Arabian horses. And it's funny how the numbers creep up. So I have our riding horses. I have my old horses that have, I have 3 or 4 old horses and a couple rescues. And then I have our show horses, the horses that we take out and show under saddle. My daughter rides in the shows, and my friend Joan's daughter rides in the shows. We have one mare that my friend Joan's daughter took, and won 4 national championships at Canadian Nationals and a reserve at Canadian Nationals last year. And that was our first national show. We were all kind of starstruck. It was pretty cool.
Now, is that English? Like, is that show jumping, or what sort of show?
So what we show her in is something called Sport Horse, which is designed to show the horses, the working English horses. So we have working Western, which is like cutting and reining and things like that. And working English, these are the horses that you would take out hunting or show hack or things like that. So she won, they have in-hand classes for this. So this is judging the horses structurally on how good they can move. What their conformation is, how good they can move. And she won 3 of the 4 classes she was eligible to show in hand. And then she won under saddle. She won the class of 24 horses with Sport Horse under saddle, and that's with English saddles. And I know this sounds like the whole world of show horse is really weird, and it's different for each breed. The quarter horses do things differently than the Arabs do, and the open shows do something different than everybody else does. But it's really fun. We have so much fun doing it.
I have to say, I see that someone said this in the chat, hence the Arabians in Alpha and Omega. And I have to say, reading that series, I had the same thought. I grew up in Ohio showing horses, actually. I live in New York City now, so I do not have horses. There's no room for them. But when I was reading Alpha and Omega, I was thinking, oh, she has horses.
I've had my whole life. The Mercy Thompson series was actually the first series I ever wrote that didn't have horses as a main character. And I kind of did that deliberately because I don't want people to think that, that my main characters are me. And so I backed off the horses quite a bit. Someday I'm going to write my book for teenagers, all about horses, with a teenage girl and her horse, and it'll be really fun for me. And hopefully somebody will read it, but not yet.
I remember the Saddle Club. Like, I was all about the Saddle Club. Like, those were books for teenage girls about horses. Like, there is a market.
Yes.
I'm not a teenager anymore, but the market.
Well, yeah, and it's just that I have so much fun writing the Mercy books and the Alpha and Omega books. It's taking time out to write it. But so Dead Heat was my nod to the Arabian horse industry, and I think, okay, so we're going to talk about world building a little bit later. I will say that I made a mistake in it, because horses are like magic. If your story doesn't center around it, it's really hard to use them as a background. And none of the plot turned on the horses. So the horse scenes came out awkwardly. And I knew that there was a problem, and I fought it all the way through the book. But at some point in time, you have to call the book done, and you turn it into the publisher. And I got it back, and it was all done. And I'm like, oh, that's the problem. I should have, if I'm going to use the horses, they have to use the horses. So,
oh my gosh,
there you have it.
I want to follow up on that, and I'm going to show some restraint and save this for the world building panel. But that is so interesting, and probably a good insight about horses in books. Horses are like magic, but not the way you think. That's one of the quotable lines I've heard so far today. I'm reminded of a quote I heard. There's something about the outside of a horse that's good for the inside of a little girl.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
And so they're like magic, but just in a different way than that quote. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for, thank you to you and to all of your tiny friends for joining us.